Welcome to our Saturday Isa Upanishad class. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we're going to do the Isa Upanishad verse 1, which goes as follows. Īśāvāsyam idaṃ sarvam. Sorry, my voice, a lot of preaching. Yet kiñca jagatyāṁ jagat, tena, tyaktena, bhuñjīthāḥ, gṛdhaḥ, kasya, svid, dhanam. Prabhupada's translation: everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So there are practically all the verses in this, all the words in this verse are very interesting, very important. So, you've all heard this, that īśāvāsyam, it's sort of it's a transcendental slogan in ISKCON, īśāvāsyam, and that everything belongs to Krishna. So let's look closely at these words because they're very interesting. So Isha means, of course, the Lord. And āvāsyam is quite interesting. The word āvāsyam, the root, the verbal root there is vas, which means to dwell, like vasa, a dwelling. Krishna, because Krishna is the abode of the goddess of fortune who is on his chest, therefore he's called Sri Vasa. Krishna is the abode of Sri Vasa, or Sri Nivasa. Ni can mean within. So the goddess of fortune who dwells on, which is Nivasa, that dwells on the Lord or in the Lord. So Vasa means a residence. And so Vasyam means to be dwelled in, or āvāsyam. A is a prefix meaning intensely. So the verse literally says that idaṃ sarvam, and idaṃ sarvam, all of this, as we said, idam in Sanskrit, like om purnamadah purnamidam, means this, that which you can see, which is this universe. So idaṃ sarvam, all of this, yat kiñca, whatever is there, jagatyāṁ, jagati means the universe, jagati, and here we have the form jagatyāṁ, which means within the jagati, within the universe, and jagat. Now the word jagat, which can also mean like all moving, unmoving things, in the word jagat, like jagat guru or jagat jagannatha, it's a very interesting word, jagat, because ga in jagat, the ga part of jagat, means go. It's the English go. And so it means all that is moving, jagat, the world where things are moving, things are changing. And of course, the Buddhists took this idea. It's not that Buddhism had a lot of original ideas, but they kind of took different things from here and there in the Vedas and stuck them together and made a new product, so to speak, or something which a lot of people at that time were looking for. But the word jagat means universe, but in the sense of the world which is moving, which means nothing is fixed. That's the actual Buddhist shunyavad, which means that emptiness, the shunyavad, emptiness, in the sense that everything in this world is changing, moving. Of course, not the soul, and certainly not God, but the visible things of this world, the sense in which this universe is idam, this which is before our senses. In that sense, it's a world of moving, changing things. And that's what's expressed by the word jagat. So it's here poetic Sanskrit that īśāvāsyam idaṃ sarvam, all of this, yat kiñca, whatever there is, jagatyāṁ jagat, all the things that are moving and changing in this universe. So I'll finish the verse, then we'll look at some of the words. Tena, by him, tyaktena, because tyaga means like renunciation, or here set aside, or place there. Tena tyaktena bhuñjīthāḥ, you should accept. And I'm going to talk a lot about this word bhuñjīthāḥ. It's an important word. Gṛdhaḥ, which means don't grab or don't take. Kasya, svid, dhanam, the wealth, the property, kasya, svid, of anyone else. So that's what the verse is. And so I'm going to make some observations on these words. I explained. So let's first look at the word āvāsyam. Isa Upanishad. It's called the Isa Upanishad because the first word is Isha. That's why it's called that. So here in Sanskrit, the same word, in this case, āvāsyam, which means to be dwelt in, or that which is someone's proper home or proper dwelling, āvāsyam, also means to possess. In fact, Prabhupada translates the word here as, he says controlled and owned by the Lord. So in Sanskrit, the idea is that if something is yours to dwell in, like let's say a house, like that's mine to dwell in, that's mine to use, that's mine to take control of, which is a way of saying, I own it. I own it. Because it's interesting because in Sanskrit, we have an English verb, own, I own this. And it's interesting, in Spanish, for example, they would say, eso me pertenece, isn't it? That belongs to me. Or soy dueño, I am the owner of something. And so in English, you have this verb own. And so Sanskrit also doesn't use so much. It's more like Spanish in the sense that you would say tat or tad mama, that is of me. In other words, that is mine. That's how you would say that's mine. And that's why the word mamata is a way of saying like false proprietorship. Mamata means ownership, mineness, literally mineness. And so here, the idea is that if something is yours to use, it is you're the one that has the right to dwell in it. You're the one that has the right to inhabit it. Then that means it's yours. And that's the connection in the sense of the word. Āvāsyam literally means to be dwelled in, but also means to possess. In other words, it's mine to occupy. It's mine to dwell in. It's mine to utilize. And so this world is, all of this world is the Lord's. He has the right to dwell in it. He has the right to inhabit it, which he does because he's all pervading. And in that sense, it belongs to him. So I thought you might find that interesting where this word comes from. So īśāvāsyam idam sarvam yat kiñca jagatyāṁ jagat tena tyaktena bhuñjīthā. So I want to look at the word bhuñjīthā. The word bhuñjīthā, first, I know you'll find this fascinating, is the second person singular optative form of the verb bhuj. So now that I've satisfied your burning curiosity about that, it actually comes from the root bhuj, from which you get, for example, the word bhoga. That's where bhoga comes from. You know, bhoga is something you enjoy. Another interesting use of the word is often to say, I mean, you find this a lot in the Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata, that to say that someone is the ruler, is the king of a place, they will say he is the bhokta, he is the enjoyer of it, or he is because the word, the verb means to enjoy, to use, to possess, to take possession of, to rule, to govern. Like a common word in the Shastra is bhuj, which means the enjoyer or the ruler of a piece of land, bhu. So, and of course we get the word bhoga from that. And bhokta, Krishna says, bhoktarang jagat-tapasam. I'm, knowing me to be the enjoyer of sacrifice and austerity, one will achieve peace. So Krishna ultimately says he's the bhokta. He's the enjoyer, and he's the one who has the right to inhabit, to possess all of this universe. And yet, Krishna is giving us, as little parts of him, Krishna is giving us the right to enjoy something in this world, but to enjoy it in the spirit of being part of Krishna. It's just like when you eat prasadam. Let's say we enjoy eating good food offered to Krishna. We do enjoy it. I mean, devotees, when they have these sadhu sangha retreats, they go to beautiful places. They don't hold sadhu sangha retreats in steel factories why do devotees have in a beautiful place? Because they enjoy it. But it's being done in Krishna's service. So the word bhuñjīthāḥ, you should enjoy, or you should possess, or you should utilize. It's very interesting because in a sense, it comes in contrast with the first line, that actually it's Krishna who has the right to possess everything, but Krishna has set aside something for you to possess. It really belongs to him. It's just like, for example, let's say you have a child. So everything in your house legally belongs to you, but you may tell your child, you can use this chair, you can use whatever, these toys, but legally they belong to the parents. But the parents set aside certain things for the children. So that's the word bhuñjīthāḥ. And then the last word, which I found interesting here, that ma gṛdhaḥ kasya svid dhanam. Don't, actually, as you know, I like to go to the Sanskrit. So the ma means don't, just in Sanskrit, don't. And then the verb grid in Sanskrit means, or gṛd actually, endeavor to gain, to covet, which in Spanish is, what's it, cobizar? English, covet, to desire, to strive after, greedily. In other words, to like to sort of lust after something, to want it, it's not, there's not because it's set aside for you. So grid, this verb, or actually you pronounce the root gṛdhaḥ, ma gṛdhaḥ, is really the opposite of tena tyaktena. Tena tyaktena means you're enjoying the world, but things have been set aside for you. Okay, this is yours to use. This is yours to enjoy. Gṛd is the opposite. Ma gṛdhaḥ is the opposite. It means you want it. It's not set aside for you. You just want it because you're greedy, because you want to enjoy it. So these are actually opposite things. Gṛdhaḥ and ma gṛdhaḥ and tena tyaktena, they're opposite ideas. Just like you have these other sets of words like īśāvāsyam and bhuñjīthā, which really are sort of, they're not contradictory, but there's a real contrast between īśāvāsyam and bhuñjīthā. And also another interesting word is dhanam. Ma gṛdhaḥ, don't covet, don't try to take for your own sense gratification, the dana, the wealth of other people. Well, so dana doesn't just mean property. It's in dhanam, like Arjun's called dhananjaya, the winner of wealth. So dana can be the prize of a contest, or it can be, the reward for something. Any valued object, especially wealth, riches, movable property. Of course, it can be used also, it can be used symbolically or metaphorically, like you can say, he has a wealth of knowledge. And you can do that in Sanskrit also, that someone has a wealth of knowledge. For example, a common word for ascetics is, or Brahmins, is tapodhana. Their wealth is their austerity. So the word is used metaphorically or symbolically, like tapodhana, their wealth is austerity. But also in a more literal sense, it means actual property, riches. And so don't, because obviously if someone, let's say, has an old rusty nail clipper, you're probably not going to covet that. But so generally what we want to take from other people is something that we see as valuable. And therefore the word dhanam is used. Don't go after the riches, the wealth, the valuable things of other people. Don't try to take them away just because you want them. So that's what this verse is really saying. Anyway, as you know, these Isa Upanishad classes are not going to be very long classes. But so, Ananda Leela, if there are questions, you can send them in. Are there questions? Let's see if we have any questions. Here's a question about this verse where it says that every living being has its quota. How can we understand? Oh, very good. I forgot to talk about that. I was going to talk about it, so you'll never get to work today. How can we understand rich people? Are they stealing from the Lord and the rest of living entities, knowing that 1% of people in the world have the most money, properties, etc.? Thank you for that question, because I wanted to talk about that, and I'd forgotten, because being in a highly spiritual state of mind. Just kidding. I really just forgot it. So, yes, that's a very interesting question. And that is, how do you determine what is set aside for you? How do you determine what is set aside for you and what is set aside for someone else? For example, if someone, let's say someone steals some of your property, we don't conclude that, oh, well, then I guess Krishna, set it aside for someone else. No, we try to get our property back. If you go through all legal means to get your property back because you were cheated or you were robbed, and if after all your efforts, you simply cannot get it back, then you would have to conclude Krishna didn't want me to have that. But you wouldn't conclude that, let's say, after or before you had made a reasonable effort to get your property back. And so what is set aside? For example, let's say you're a householder and you have a family. You have to make money for your family. And so it doesn't mean just to be like the famous python that just lies in the road with its mouth open. I know all the wives of ISKCON would be really ecstatic if their husbands say, I quit my job, I'm just going to lie in the street with my mouth open. Probably a lot of marriages would break up. But so yes, the saying that it's set aside for me, this you conclude after you've done your duty. For example, a householder has a duty to maintain a family. So you have to pursue an income. You have to pursue money to do your duty, your religious duty. Or a sannyasi or a householder that wants to preach. Sometimes we hope to get donations, we hope to get money so that we can spread Krishna consciousness. So it doesn't mean that you just to become passive. We have to work actively in this world, but we work according to our duty and according to reasonable endeavor. We don't become obsessive, we don't become crazy. We make sincere effort, we work hard, but at the end of all that, we have to accept what Krishna has given us. And as far as what other people have, for like the point that was raised in this question, that there are serious problems with wealth distribution in the world at the present time. And so a devotee may, in preaching, may also make the point that wealth should be distributed more fairly and so that it benefits more people. And so urging a proper distribution of wealth according to the laws of God and the dictates of compassion, that's also does not violate this idea of just taking what's set aside for someone or assuming that, okay, this person's starving, but that's what was set aside for them. And a rich person is just, being a pig. So yes, we can work sincerely, advocate justice and fairness and do our own duty. But at the end of the day, at the end of many days, at the end of all of our efforts, the way things turn out, we somehow have to accept as Krishna's arrangement. So the purport talks about Krishna's potencies. We hear Radha is his internal potency. It was something that was never clear to me, internal and external. Or what is it? That's very simple. Internal just means spiritual. External means material. And I think it's nothing more than that. Okay, so thank you all very much. That's all the questions I received. No more questions. Oh, there's one more. Okay, is that coming? 3 more. There's actually 700 more questions. That was a joke. Don't panic. Oh, it's up there. I don't see the questions. Oh, there it is. Number 3. Okay, good news for everybody that has to go. There's only one more question. In the Bhagavatam, there are many pastimes about sacrifice, and it is said that demigods take their part. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that part? Is it physical or what is it? That's a good question, actually. Presumably, it is physical in some sense because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3 that parasparang bhavayantu, that that the demigods and human beings on earth are actually sort of nourishing each other or bringing prosperity to each other. It's just like a government, you could say, is more powerful than any individual citizen, but if the citizens don't pay their taxes, the government can't function. So think of it as a government and taxes. Okay, there is a number 4, one more question. I'm destroying families because there's some men that have to go to work and I'm making them stay here and listen to this class. That's what sannyasis do, they ruin families. So, okay, last question. If external is material energy, but it is said Krishna is all spiritual, how can we understand that? Because Krishna is all spiritual, yes, because matter, if properly seen, of course, is Krishna's energy, but it functions externally. It is material. There's nothing, it's a good question. There's nothing material inside of Krishna. So ultimately, matter is spiritual energy, but it's acting in a material way, because spiritual energy acts to increase our love for Krishna. Material energy sometimes makes us forget Krishna, although that's also just a strategy to eventually get us to love Krishna, but still material energy acts differently. It's not alive, it's not conscious. In that sense, it's external. Krishna calls it apara, inferior, and yet, as Krishna explains in the Gita and as the Bhagavatam explains, Krishna is not downgraded by that. It's not that because the material energy is Krishna's energy, Krishna becomes material. And that's why he says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, that all material things are in me, but they are not in me. They're not in Krishna in the sense that they become a defining characteristic of who God is, but they're in him in the sense that they're under his power and he controls them. And so it's a spiritual energy, but Krishna uses to act materially because it's needed. Because there are conditioned souls, they need to have material experience so that they can preserve their free will, but still learn and come back to Krishna. It's just a job that has to be done, and therefore Krishna's got a potency to get that job done. It's that simple, but it does not make Krishna material. Okay, thank you all very much. And thank you for listening. I hope you listen again next Sunday. Saturday, sorry. See that? I'm in the spiritual world. Okay, next Saturday we have the Isa Upanishad class, and tomorrow we'll have our Bhagavatam class. So thank you all for listening. Thanks to Ananda Leela for organizing everything and for holding up all the idiot cards so I know what to say. Just kidding, that was a joke. So, Hare Krishna.